and we will also provide you with a copy of the PowerPoint from this session. Oh, I get a thumbs up there. That's great. So I think people are able to see and hear, which is wonderful. Yeah, so we're recording this and it will be posted in a few days. It will also be sent out to you in a follow-up email. All right, so for those of you who are not familiar with who we are, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Prosper Canada. Founded in 1986, Prosper Canada is a national charity, and we're dedicated to expanding economic opportunity for Canadians living in poverty. And we do that through program and policy innovation. As Canada's leading national champion for financial empowerment, we work with government, business, and community partners like yourselves to develop and promote financial policies, programs, and resources that transform lives and foster the prosperity of all Canadians. We help service systems and organizations in all sectors to build proven financial empowerment approaches into their businesses in ways that are sustainable, help them to achieve their goals, and tangibly increase the financial well-being of the low-income people they serve. So that's just a little bit about us. I'd now like to start our event today with a land acknowledgement, and I really want to invite all of you to make your own land acknowledgements in the chat if you're calling in from other areas as well. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're joining you from Toronto, which is situated upon traditional territories. The territories include the Wendat, Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Métis Nation. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Today, the meeting place of Toronto is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community on this territory. So again, I encourage you to share your own acknowledgements in the chat if you'd like to. So, my name is Jenny Bolton, and I'll be your facilitator for this session. And again, I just want to thank my colleague, Sharmeen Beg, for joining us today and providing with support. We've got a really big group, so before we get started, I'd just love to get to know each other a little bit. I know it's hard when we're virtual, but if you could please share in the chat your name and where you live in Canada, or if you want to share what organization you work with, that's fine too. So I'm just going to take a little look at the chat and see who we have joining us today. Oh, and we've got some acknowledgements there as well, which is great. Yeah, so we've all from Saskatoon, fantastic. CAS in London, Port Dover, Edmonton. Oh, the Bissell Center. I know the Bissell Center. All right, I'm seeing lots of organizations that I'm familiar with or we've worked with, and some new ones as well. And some people from Nova Scotia and Muskoka. So it's great to see such great representation. So I'll let you to continue to take a look at who's joining us today, as well as some of the great land acknowledgements that are there. And I just wanted to let you know that today we're going to be using what's called Mentimeter. Hopefully you've had some experience with that. To engage using Mentimeter, you can do two things. You can either log in at menti.com and use the code that you see on the slide there, which is 41201222, or you can simply scan the QR code. So the code that you see there, just scan it with your phone and it will take you right to Mentimeter. Okay, I'm going to keep this slide up for just a moment so you have a chance to log in. And then in just a minute, we're going to try it out. And I'm going to switch screens and I'm going to go to Mentimeter. And we're going to do another quick poll just as our warm up and get a sense of who you're working with. It's often really interesting to see all of the different groups and clients that people are working with. So I'll give you one moment while I switch my screen and hopefully you can get connected to Mentimeter. All right. Looks like some of you are already, as I see. All right. So getting a sense of who you support. Can everybody see that okay? Can you see it, Sharmeen? Yeah, okay. All right, so we've got a lot of people supporting families with children, which is great. What else have we got? Newcomers, people living with disabilities. So that's great. I'm glad we're going to be looking at the disability benefits compass today. Indigenous, wonderful, homeless and underhoused, newcomers, seniors. If you've selected other and you want to share in the chat who others are, that would be great. And just checking out our chat here. And support all of the populations. That's great. Sometimes exactly, yeah, you have to choose. You might serve like this different groups as well. Okay, so it's just good to get a sense of who's in the room today. So we really appreciate that. That's great to see. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and go back to our presentation. All right, great. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing. It really is nice to have a sense of who's joining us today. And so now I better let you know what we're going to be doing together today. The purpose of today is to learn and to practice the skills to support Canadians living on a low income to access benefits. And what does this start with? Well, it starts with understanding your role and how you can provide support. It also includes important skills like knowing how to start the conversation about benefits. We all know it's very difficult to start that money conversation, so we'll give you some tips and tricks on how to do that. And then we're going to review the benefits Wayfinder, and we're going to give you some time to actually explore the tool. So we'll pause partway through the presentation and allow you to work with a persona and to explore the tool. And you're also welcome just to explore it based on the types of clients that you work with as well. I'm also going to give you a short overview of the Disability Benefits Compass, which is linked to the Benefits Wayfinder or can also be accessed as a standalone tool. And then finally, we're going to provide you with some additional resources and training that's also available to you. So just letting you know that these topics, along with more details on financial literacy, financial conversations, and how to use the Benefits Wayfinder are also available through one of our online courses called Foundations of Access to Benefits. So if you've not taken this training and you're interested, we'll definitely provide you with more information on this, along with a couple of other resources at the end of the workshop. All right, so we have 1.5 hours together today, hopefully with some time at the end as well for questions. So let's get started. But before I jump to the next slide, I just want to make sure if we've got any questions, please add them to the chat and we'll continue to try to monitor them as best we can. Great. Okay, wonderful. All right, here's what you can expect from today's workshop. We're going to be using a variety of different learning formats, and we're going to give you a chance to engage with the content. That's the fun part. So some of the activities will be completed together in a larger group, using Mentimeter, for example, or as individuals. And you're going to have that time to practice using the Benefits Wayfinder and experiment a little bit with how you might integrate it into money conversations. And hopefully throughout, you'll also have some opportunities to reflect on your own experiences with money. We're going to use personas, as I mentioned, as well as some discussions, and we hope that this helps it to really come to life so that you can incorporate your own personal experiences into this. So because of this, we want the session to be safe, inclusive, and fun, so please treat our time together with respect. And again, any questions as we go along, please just add them to the chat. Okay, one more important thing before we move on. Let's approach the content in today's workshop knowing that the experiences, values, and emotions around money differ widely from person to person. If you've been working in this field or even just speaking with friends and family, we know that money can be a very sensitive topic. Okay, so remember this as we work together today, and also when you work with individuals in your communities or when you speak with friends and family. We're going to start by exploring your role in helping the individuals that you work with, support them with accessing the benefits that they're entitled to, but probably not receiving yet. So how can we explore that and how can we help them find that additional income that could really make an impact on their lives? So that's our goal for today. So my big question to you, to get you thinking, is why does this matter? Why does access to benefits support matter? So I want you to take a moment to think about why access to benefits matters in your own lives, for example. What impact does benefits have? So if you have a child with a disability, you know that benefits matter. If you're caring for an aging parent, or you're saving for a child's education, or if you're having difficulty paying your bills, you know that benefits matter. But now I want you to think about someone living on a very low income. Okay, so what impact can benefits have on an individual or a family living on a low income? So I'm going to share my screen again, and you're going to go back to Mentimeter, and we're going to do a little bit of a word cloud. Okay, so just give me a moment, and I'm going to slide it over to, there we go. Hopefully you can see my screen. Think about the impact that access to benefits have on people, but it's not just about the money. What does that extra money do? What does it allow them? How does it affect their lives? Okay, and again, if it's not working for you, if Mentimeter's not working, please just feel free to share it in the chat as well. Okay, thank you, Charmaine, for sharing the code there. Wow, these are great. Yeah, security, independence, access, right? Hope. I love that. Increased control, reducing stress. So you guys can see all of these great answers. Thank you so much. I think you've definitely got it. Right. So reducing isolation, right? If we can help people to make connections and empower them, access to food, wellness, more choice, better health. These are great words. These are fantastic. Resilience. I love that. Okay. Improved health, relief. Oh my goodness, right? If we can reduce some of that stress, the ability to participate more confidence. So we can see how important these words are, really powerful, and we can see the importance of benefits and helping people to access them can have. All right, you keep them coming. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I'm going to go back to the presentation. And actually, these are such great words. I've got to remember, I want to make sure I share those with you as well when we send out the post materials. I think it's really inspiring to see all of that. Okay. Oh, it didn't let me resume. Sorry about that. Okay, so those were all really great words. I just want to highlight a couple of other things as well, some of the important aspects of it. Individuals who receive benefit navigation support are more likely to be able to access the benefits that they're eligible for. So by increasing an individual's access to benefits, you're going to play a really key role in helping them to increase their income. And receiving benefits can improve an individual's financial well-being and empower them to take control of their financial situation. Increased benefits can also improve the overall quality of their life, and this is because the stresses of living in poverty can have an impact on all areas of life. All right, so you guys really nailed it with all of those words. Those were fantastic. So thank you for sharing. All right. So how can people support individuals to access benefits? Okay, so access to benefits, as we know, is a really vital part of poverty reduction. So by integrating access to benefits into existing programs, so things like social assistance, employment, housing, healthcare, settlement, the outcomes of these programs are improved. Okay, so there's three elements to supporting individuals with access to benefits. And the first one is to identify an individual's eligibility for them. Okay, so many people living on a low income, they're not even aware that there are benefits that they could be receiving. There's also others that may know about the benefits, but they don't believe they're eligible. Okay, and so to identify eligibility, you can ask an individual if they've heard about certain benefits, or you can use the benefits Wayfinder to identify some of the potential benefits that they're eligible for. The second step to supporting individuals is to guide them through the application process. So although the process must be led by the individual, you can help support their application. And you can do this by maybe making an action plan with them or creating a to-do list for their application. Could simply be you help keep them on track and do some check-in meetings regularly, or you can help with practical needs, maybe helping them to complete the applications, navigating some of the online tools, or even just printing and mailing the benefit applications, right? Getting it out there. Lastly, you can support an individual to access benefits by referring them to additional support as required. Okay, so you're not required to have all the answers. There's an awful lot to know when it comes to benefits. And as I'll share with you later, neither Sharmina or I are benefit experts. So sometimes the questions we get are beyond our knowledge. So it's okay. And it's just important to be able to know how to help it the best way you can and to refer to other individuals if there's other resources that would better meet their needs. Okay, so in these cases, it's really important to have a list of trustworthy organizations and resources to refer to. And I'm also going to highlight today that we actually have some of those resources on the Benefits Wayfinder if you're not familiar with them yet. In this webinar, we're going to focus on that first element. Okay, we're going to talk about determining a participant's eligibility and getting them started on their benefits application journey. All right, I'm just going to pause again and see if we have any questions. Okay. We got some good comments there, which is great. Some people who've used the Benefits Wayfinder tool as well. Wonderful, wonderful to see. All right, so let's talk about how we start the conversation about benefits. All right, first we want to recognize that there's many barriers facing the communities and the people that we work with and support. So many people living on a low income have also experienced some sort of financial or other trauma, and that trauma can lead to additional barriers to accessing benefits information and support. So a trauma-informed approach, I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. A trauma-informed approach can recognize that trauma and it can empower them by creating conditions of emotional and personal safety. So to take a trauma-informed approach, we follow these 5 principles. The first one I've already put up there for you is safety. It's really important to create a physically and emotionally safe environment. And one way that you can do this is to make sure that you hold conversations in a private area. Okay. The second principle is to support autonomy and choice. So, for example, by ensuring that the individual knows that they're in control of all decisions in the benefits process. The third principle is to create collaborative relationships. So where the individual has a significant role in how the process unfolds. So for example, the individual chooses how and when to search and apply for benefits while you provide the tools to support the action. Okay, next is to establish trust and boundaries. And one way you can do this is just by reassuring the individual that their information will be kept confidential. Another way is reminding them that they can stop the meeting or the benefits application process at any time if they choose. Okay. And finally, it's important to use a strength-based and empowerment-focused approach, and acknowledging and validating participants' feelings, experiences, values, and decisions is key. Okay. I'm sure a lot of you, if you're working in this field, are quite familiar with the trauma-informed approach, but it's always a good reminder, and it just sort of sets the tone for what we're hoping to achieve. So keeping that approach in mind, okay, let's look how we can start a benefits conversation. And the first step is to determine whether a benefits conversation would be useful for a person. Okay, so we have 3 screening questions that we use to help. And they are, you're going to hear me say these a lot today. Have you filed your taxes for the past 5 years? Have you recently experienced or are you coming up to a big life change? So this might be something like having a child or retiring. And number 3, do you have enough money to make ends meet? So a person's responses to these screening questions will indicate whether using the Benefits Wayfinder and exploring benefits would be worthwhile. For example, question 1, if they've not filed their taxes, there may be benefits that they're missing out on, because we know that a lot of the benefits that people receive are related to taxes. So they may not even know about these. Question 2, if they're coming up to a big life change, like we said, having a baby or retiring, losing, maybe they've lost their job. Again, there could be some benefits that they're eligible for. Finally, question 3, if they don't have enough money to make ends meet, there's probably going to be some benefits that they qualify. On the other hand, if they haven't filed their taxes and they're not experiencing a life change and they have enough money to make ends meet, it's much less likely that they're going to find helpful benefits. However, in this case, you can offer what's called a benefits checkup and just make sure that they're receiving everything that they can. Or sometimes by doing that, it makes them think of another family member or friend that might be eligible for that. Okay, so it's always a good exercise. So let's talk about how we can use these screening questions in different types of conversations. So while every situation and every individual is unique, there are 3 common conversation pathways. So I'm going to introduce these to you, and we'll just discuss how you can bring up the topic of access in these 3 pathways. So if you're a frontline worker, the first one's generally going to take place on the job. So you're in a public situation. Maybe you're having a discussion with a community member who's seeking support because they're in a financially vulnerable situation. So for example, you might be working at a food bank and doing some screening questions, or maybe you're providing formula to a new mom, or providing employment training to support a newcomer. You're in a conversation with someone and the person did not come prepared for a financial conversation, okay? Or it simply could be a conversation that you're having at a coffee shop with a friend or family member who's struggling financially, okay? So it's very public. The second one takes place during a private one-on-one scheduled money conversation. Okay, and we'll dig into that a little bit more. And the third one is in a related field. So maybe you're in healthcare, or you're speaking with a person who's incarcerated, or you're providing housing services. It's a one-on-one private meeting, but the person did not come for the purpose of discussing money. Okay, we're going to jump back to our Mentimeter, and I'm really just curious to see what pathway you think you would most likely find yourself in when interacting with community members. So I'm going to switch. You can jump to your Mentimeter. I'm going to change my screen so we can see your answers. Okay, great. Interesting. So yeah, often, it's a public situation, and that can be really challenging, right? Trying to you identify an opportunity and then try to integrate that into the conversation. But then, of course, you want to respect their privacy. So we'll talk a little bit about the types of things that you can do to navigate that. And then our second group will be in a one-on-one meeting, but a related field. So those are great opportunities, and they're definitely opportunities that we're trying to integrate into, shall we say. In other words, get more people in healthcare or more people in social work to know about the benefits Wayfinder so that they can incorporate that. And then some of you are in a money conversation already, which is great. Okay, well, thank you for sharing. It's always interesting to see. That really helps. I'll go back to our presentation. Lots of back and forth today. Keeps us all on our toes. Okay. All right, so let's talk about pathway 1. So in pathway 1, as we said, you're in a public place, so you need to be really sensitive and respect the person's privacy. Okay, so you're going to want to ask close-ended questions and leave more detailed discussions to when you're in a one-on-one meeting. So you might want to open the conversation with things like, we could explore benefits that you might be eligible for. Would you be interested? Or if willing, you can ask the screening questions. Have you filed your taxes for the past 5 years? Have you recently experienced, or are you coming up to a big life change? And number 3, do you have enough money to make ends meet? Okay, so those are those screening questions. And then if appropriate, you can ask if they'd be interested in exploring benefits. And if willing, okay, you may want to set up a more private one-on-one meeting. So it's just finding that opportunity, asking those questions, getting them interested, and then setting up a more appropriate time. Okay, that's what's really important when you're in a public situation. For pathway 2, it's a little bit different because you're already talking about finances. Okay, so you're already in a private one-on-one meeting. So you can ask the screening questions as part of that broader financial conversation. Okay. And then you can ask more open-ended questions, right? And talk a little bit about how they might want to improve their financial situation or increase their income. Okay. And if that participant identifies a need for increased income, then that's when you can ask if they're interested in checking for benefits. And then, of course, you're able to proceed based on the participant's interest. Okay. So, again, might be a little easier in this kind of situation. You're already talking about money, you've already got over that hurdle of money conversations, and then you can start to introduce a little bit more about benefits and the benefits wayfinder. Finally, for pathway 3, this is where you're working in a related field. So maybe you're in settlement or you're in healthcare and you're in a one-on-one meeting, so it's private. So in this situation, you can ask open-ended questions to identify maybe that person's stressors, right? What's stressing them out? What's happening in their lives? And then you can see if there is a need for increased income and share that there might be some benefits that can help. Okay. And then there's, again, if interested, you can ask those screening questions. And just to remind you once again, it's, have you filed your taxes for the past 5 years? Have you recently experienced or are you coming up to a big life change? And do you have enough money to make ends meet? Okay, so then if it makes sense to explore further, again, there's where you're going to set up that dedicated meeting to explore further. Or I guess in some cases, again, if this is something that's not within your scope, it might be where you make that referral to another organization. Okay, there's lots of options. All right, time for you guys to get to work soon. But I just want to do one more little bit of a introduction, and then we'll start some activities. For those of you that have maybe taken our online course or participated in a public demo, you might be already familiar with the tool that I'm about to demonstrate for you, and it's the Benefits Wayfinder tool. So we're going to take some time now to demonstrate the different ways that it can be used in money conversations. And if you want further detail on this tool, because today it's just going to be sort of a short demonstration, we do have some previously recorded webinars that you can view on our Learning Hub that go into a little bit more detail. So a quick introduction, it's a tool that helps individuals to identify and apply for the benefits that they're eligible for. It works by providing a list of personalized benefits that an individual may be eligible for based on their personal circumstances. So users can view a particular benefit's eligibility and ID requirements, the application process, and more, and then they can organize their recommendations on what we call the dashboard. So those of you who are most likely to discover new benefits within the Benefits Wayfinder are clients that are living on a low income. They might be newcomers to Canada, those approaching or experiencing a major life event, those who have never filed their taxes, or those who are not receiving common starting benefits. Okay, so those are the types who are going to get the most out of the Benefits Wayfinder experience. So in just a moment, I'm going to provide you with a short walkthrough on how to use the various features of the Benefits Wayfinder. And then that's when you're going to have a chance to navigate through this on your own after the demonstration. We'll also share with you the links to the tool that if you want to, navigate through it with me at the same time, that's okay. Some people learn by doing. And then also letting you know that there is a video about the Benefits Wayfinder and how to navigate it. And it's going to be shared in the resource section should you wish to use it as a reference after the workshop. And again, as we're going through this, if you have any questions, please add them to the chat. Okay, and I just wanted to also remind you, I said this earlier as well, neither Sharmina and I are benefits experts. So if there's a specific question that you have about a particular benefit, we may not be able to answer it. But having said that, we've done enough of these webinars to see some interesting things happen in the chat. And sometimes somebody puts a question in the chat that maybe we can't answer, but somebody else within the group may have that level of benefit expertise to answer. Or what we always do is we take a look at our chat afterwards, and if there's a question there that we can look up for you or consult with someone and try to get you the answer, we will try to do our best with that. But yeah, so any other questions? I'm going to just switch my screen and we are ready to do a short demo. All right, can you see it, Charmaine? Yes? Awesome, perfect. Okay, everyone, I gotta look up a little bit here, so I'm gonna just change my perspective and I'm gonna share with you the homepage of the Benefits Wayfinder. And as you can see at the top, we have three different ways to access the information. We have what's called starting points, we have a questionnaire, and we have browse all benefits. So we're going to be focusing on the questionnaire today. We'll also dive a little bit into starting points, and then you'll have an opportunity to explore both of those using a persona. We won't get too much into browsing all benefits. It's pretty straightforward, but I will certainly show you how that works as well. So I'm going to begin in a moment with the questionnaire that has 13 questions that you can either go through with a client, so you can help them through it, or of course they can do it on their own as well. You can just share the link with them. But before I complete it with you, I just want to give you a little bit of information and help you to know a little bit more about the process. One of the big things that comes up is whether or not the information is stored. And I want to state really clearly that it is not stored. People aren't always comfortable sharing personal information online. And so, if your client's really not comfortable with that, they don't want to, then just use the starting points, which I'll show you in a moment. And that way they don't have to input anything personal. Okay, so I'll show you that. But if you do use the questionnaire, it will help you to find much more relevant benefits to your circumstance. Okay. The other thing I want you to know is you don't have to answer every question. So there is the ability to skip the questions, but the more questions the person answers, the more specific benefit recommendations that they'll receive. Okay. So the benefits aren't going to be removed from your dashboard, only added. So they'll just continually try to find benefits that fit the situation. The other thing I want you to know is that you can move back and forth. So if you click on something and you went, oh, I shouldn't have answered that way, you can go back and change your answer. It will also allow you to review all of your responses before you submit them. So lots of room for error. You can play around a little bit. And I'll show you afterwards too, there's always opportunities to clear your session and start again. Okay. The other thing I want you to note that if you're completing a questionnaire for participants who are approaching that life change, so remember question number 2, you want to enter the information as if they're already experiencing it. Okay, so that's going to give the most accurate suggestion. So for example, if the individual is expecting a child, answer the question as if they already have the child, because then that will illuminate the benefits that are related to having that child. Okay, or same thing as like you're approaching retirement, then maybe enter the income that they're going to have once they're retired. Okay, so let's do the questionnaire together. I'm going to go up to here. The first one, of course, is are you up to date on filing your taxes? Of course, this is an important one because so many of the benefits that we receive are connected to taxes. So in this case, I'm going to say no. The next question is around age, because of course, again, benefits can be age dependent. I'm going to be younger today. All right. And then they're going to ask your citizenship or immigration status. So I'm going to, I'll just select that I'm a permanent or legal resident. I try it differently every time, so let's see what happens. In this case, I'm going to say that I'm employed part-time. The next question is how much money does everyone in your household together make in 1 year? So just being really clear that this is household income. Okay. And how many people live in your home? I'll put a family situation. Do you care for any children under 18 years of age? So I'm going to say yes. That way we'll get some of the benefits that might be related to children. Does anyone in your household are living with a disability? Say yes. And just take a note here. As you can see, it's giving you the process. So you have a sense of how many more questions that you have. You can clear it throughout the process. And as I mentioned, you can go back and forth. Okay. So click next. Where do you live? In this case, I'm going to say we're renting. Are you pregnant or expecting a child? So again, if that, if the child's, maybe you're, maybe if in this case I had just selected two people and we knew we were expecting a child, we wanted to make sure that we select that so that we can see some of the benefits related to children. Length of stay in Canada. Are you, your parent, or your spouse a Canadian veteran? Do you have a parent or spouse who had lived in Canada and passed away? Okay, so I've hit the end of my questionnaire. I'll do a little preview. So this is the opportunity I have to just double check all of my answers. So I don't want to make you dizzy. I'll go slowly here and go down to the end. And once I get to the end, I can submit. Okay, great. So we have found 40 recommended benefits based on this questionnaire, and I'm going to go view what's called my dashboard. So this is what the dashboard looks like. Okay, one thing I should have noted, but I had already clicked in order to do this, what comes up at the very beginning is which province you're in. So I had already selected Ontario, but I can also move around, which I'll show you a little bit later. For example, when we're browsing all benefits, we're doing starting points, but just letting you know right now, I'm going to be receiving information on benefits that are either federal or in Ontario. To go away. There you go. Okay. So this is what the dashboard looks like. All right. So these recommended benefits are a really good starting point, but you're still going to need to go through them and really determine your eligibility. So again, they're trying to capture all of the possibilities for you, but there could be more. Okay. And then there's lots of sub lists on the dashboard where you can sort of play around and, just filter things out so that you only see what you want to see. So for example, there might be benefits that you're already receiving. So for example, I might be able to add this. You can see I can pin it here as a benefit that I'm already receiving. I can remove it if it's one that I'm not interested in, okay? Or maybe it's a really high priority for me. I could also tag it as that. I can sort them in different ways, either alphabetically, or maybe I don't want to be filing my taxes, so I just want the ones that I can apply to and not have to file my taxes, for example. Okay. And then if I've clicked something and removed it from a list, I can always go back and bring them back again just by clicking on these. Okay. So there's lots of flexibility. All right. And I also wanted you to note that they are sorted in such a way, they will be telling you whether or not they're complex applications, and they all give you a sense of what identification is required as well. Okay, so there's lots of information. Some of the feedback we get is that what's really helpful, it's all in one spot. I mean, you can find most of this information, of course, on government websites, but it brings it all together, which is really, really important. So let's take a look at what happens when I dive into one of the benefits that I want to learn a little bit more about. So in this case, you can see that, again, it's telling me whether it's complex, whether or not tax filing is required, what ID is required. It will always give you the link to the government website. So if you want to go directly there, and all of them have a very similar process here, sharing with you the eligibility, sharing with you the identification required, and giving you steps on how to apply. So there's how to apply. There's lots of other links that it will take you to as well. And it's pretty easy to navigate. I want to go back to the dashboard and show you a couple of other great features. So one of the things that is important is that if you want to save your session, you need to do that. And it will allow you to email it to yourself, or maybe you're doing it with a client and you want to email it to them. If some people aren't very digitally literate, then maybe you want to just print it out for them, which you have the ability to do, or download it as a PDF. I'll reiterate again that it's not going to save the information, but that you still want to clear the session so that all of that information is gone and you can use it fresh with another client. Okay, so you will want to clear your session just so that all those filters, it's basically getting rid of all of those filters. Okay, a couple of other things that I want to share with you before we move on to starting points is that there are some help sections that you can go to as well. So if I click on help, which is up here, it will give me a list of all different organizations. Of course, I'm in Ontario right now, so these are going to be Ontario based. And these organizations can help with accessing benefits. There's also an agency portal, and the agency portal has all kinds of resources. It will link you to some of the other tools that we have. I'll share more about that later. One of them is called Bridge to Benefits. It has things like an action plan that you can use with your clients. Maybe you want to just give them a list of some of the key benefits that are available. There's some worksheets. There's some other online tools. This is a toolkit for managing in tough times. So there's just so much information on here. And I just really encourage you to take some time to look through it at another point. Okay. So I'm going to pause for a moment, see if we have any questions about the questionnaire or about the tool. I think I see a question, how does this differ from the Government of Canada one? It's different in that we've done a few, we've added some other things, some other information, of course, all those tools and resources that I just shared with you. So it's just a bit more robust, but of course it does have some similar information as well in terms of the basic benefit information. Okay. All right. Oh, I see a question about for First Nations. That's a really, really great question. One of the things we're about to embark on, so if you are living in um, a First Nations community or have some insights, we would love to talk afterwards. But one of the things that we want to do is to take a look at the benefits Wayfinder, and we do have more benefits that we're adding that are for Indigenous peoples, but we also want to improve it to make it more useful for Indigenous communities, and that's sort of one of our next projects. So stay tuned. There's going to be some improvements from that perspective that we're really, really excited about. Okay. All right. I'm now going to take a look at starting points. So this is another way to explore benefits. And this is for people, especially if they're not really comfortable putting that personal information on there. Maybe they just don't even want to share it with you in a one-on-one session. They might be very private. So it could be simply saying, I'm looking for disability support. So these are all related to disability, or I'm a senior. So it narrows it down the results for those with specific or immediate needs. So, again, you can just ask them, are you a newcomer to Canada? Are you a senior? All of these types of questions, and then it'll just share some of the benefits particular to that. Especially with, they might be missing out on things, and it's just a really quick check for them to see some of the things that they might be eligible for. Okay. The other thing, just to note that you can add these, as I think I said earlier, to things that you're already receiving, and then you can create a list for yourself and print that out. Okay, so the third way, I'll just quickly take a look at. I'm sure you're getting excited to start to try to play with it on your own. So I'm going to move on quickly and just give you a quick update on the browse all benefits. And this is just a really simple way. You can either just type in the benefit you're looking for, or you can do a search using these filters here. So here's where if maybe I want to see all of the ones that are in the federal ones or the ones that are in the Yukon, I just click on that. So now I just see all of those. Again, I can say I just want the easy ones. I want ones that are related to housing, and it will filter it that way. Okay, so we can see that. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I can change it depending on the province as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back to our presentation one more time and get you started on your activity. All right. Okay, so now that we've learned to start the conversation about benefits, we've done a quick demo of the tool. We're going to try to use the tool in different situations and give you some time to practice. So for this activity, you're going to use the Benefits Wayfinder to find benefits for people that they may be eligible for based on their personal circumstances. It's really an informal activity, so you're going to do this actually on your own, but I encourage you, if you don't want to use the persona, just to base it on the types of clients that you're working with in your community. Okay. So feel free to create that. And in just a moment, I'm going to share with you a little bit about Sergio. So we're going to review Sergio before we get started, and just note that you might need to be creative and make up some of the answers yourself. So when you do that questionnaire, not everything I've provided to you about Sergio will give you the information that you need. And that's kind of intentional. I want you to maybe answer the questionnaire and reflect on the types of clients that you work with. Okay, so let's take a look. Sergio is 33 years old. He's a newcomer to Canada, a temporary resident. He lives in Fergus, Ontario, and he is renting. He has an income of $40,000 a year. He works full time, and he has not filed Canadian taxes before. Okay, so we're going to put the link to the Benefits Wayfinder in the chat. Okay, and you're going to use this information to answer the questions in the questionnaire and see what recommendations you get for Sergio. You can also then take a look at your Mentimeter, and I'll put it to the next question. And as you find things, you're welcome to share them in Mentimeter, and we'll come back and look at them afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to give you a good few minutes to, what have I said? I think about 7 to 10 minutes. This is the one that takes the longest. I want to give you a little bit of time. You're going to do this on your own. Okay, you're going to use the questionnaire, um, and then we'll come back together as a group. So to do this, we want to open your browser to benefitswayfinder.org. I'll put the persona back up there so that you can see it. Let's take about 5 minutes just to search the tool, and then we've got another like sort of 5 minutes to come back and share our findings. Okay, so a total of 10 minutes. So it's 1:52. We'll come back together just about 2 minutes after two, and we'll see what you have found for Sergio. Okay, have fun. Any questions, put them in the chat. I will take a look and see if I can answer them while we're doing this activity. Hi, everybody. We'll come back in just a moment, and Nina will get you joined into the next activity, which is very similar. So stay tuned. Okay. So I'm going to share our screen right now, taking a look at the Mentimeter, getting a sense of some of the benefits that people found for Sergio. Now, keep in mind, because I gave you the ability to make up some of the details about Sergio, there may be some benefits up here that you didn't have come up on your dashboard. But the whole intent of this activity was really just to allow you some time to play and explore. So you get a sense of what happens when you do the questionnaire, so you can review the questions, and so you can see how the benefits are shared. I mentioned in one of the chat questions, somebody was like, why does social work, OW, social assistance, I mean, come up when he's working? They are going to pull more benefits than less. So there are going to be sometimes situations where you're like, I don't think that's really quite relevant, but they'd rather give you all than not everything. So, and then sometimes it can be, if it's really it seems strange, then sometimes we do check how the filters are working in the back, but just letting you know that there still might be some that come up on that dashboard that the person's not fully eligible for, but there's obviously been something that has caused it to be pulled because there might be some interest in it. And of course, social assistance is one of the main key benefits. There are a couple other questions that came up or things around how often are these updated? Every 6 months, we do a full update of the benefits Wayfinder. And there was also a question about municipal. We are trying to work with more cities and are trying to add some municipal level benefits, which would be really exciting. But of course, it's a very large task that takes a lot of time. So I think there'll be some benefits from like the Kitchener-Waterloo area. We're working with them, and that's always going to be room for improvements and things to be added. So it's constantly evolving, and it's very exciting. All right, I'm going to stop sharing our Mentimeter. I'm going to go back, and you've got some more work to do. I'm going to share the next activity just so you can get oriented to the starting points. This one's going to be a little quicker. We don't need quite as much time. I'm going to share with you Rabia. So in this situation, we're going to use starting points to see what benefits we can find for Rabia. So let's review the persona here. Rabia is 19 years old. She is a citizen and she lives in any town, Canada. And I did that on purpose. Again, maybe choose the province that you're living in or choose a different province. Her level of income is $23,000 a year. She works part-time as a server, and she's only been eligible for tax filing. She's only been eligible for 1 year, but did not file her taxes. So what we're going to do, similar thing on your own, using the Benefits Wayfinder, we'll put the link back into the chat again. But this time I want you to use starting points. So that tab is up at the top. Okay, and just take a couple of minutes and see what comes up. I again will change the Mentimeter. So once you start to find some of the benefits for Rabia, you can add them there. So let's just go till 2:10. Not even that. I think we could do just 3 or 4 minutes. We'll have it all wrapped up by 2:10 because we've got a couple of other things that we want to get through today. All right, so take a few moments and let's see what we can find for Rabia. And I'll leave her situation up there for you. There we go. Okay, as you can see, this one takes usually a lot less time. It's just a quick way of navigating some of the scenarios that might apply to Rabia. And we've got a few things up there on our Mentimeter, which I'll share in just a moment, but please keep them coming. There we go. So yeah, great. So somebody chose Yukon as a province. So great. You can see that she's eligible for the dental program, workers benefit disability if applicable, GST, and we've got an Ontario drug benefit, Ontario Works, Healthy Smiles. So great. So yeah, it's not, not always as robust in terms of what you and what you get when you do it this way, but it certainly is a simple way. And as I said, it's sometimes more comfortable for those who aren't um, comfortable sharing their personal information. Okay, I'm just going back to our presentation. We've got a little bit more to cover, and I just briefly want to share with you one other tool that is actually linked uh, from the Benefits Wayfinder, but it's also a standalone tool, and that's our Disability Benefits Compass. Okay, so you can access it either way. And as you probably know, if you've been working in this field at all, disability benefits are much more complex. So this tool was created in partnership with Plan Institute, Disability Alliance BC, and the SRDC to help improve the navigation of key disability benefits. So essentially, it's just a deeper dive into these benefits with more tips and suggestions for how to apply. It's got plain language, and it was designed by people living with a disability and the support staff. And within each of these, there's tips, examples, frequently asked questions, resources, challenges you may encounter, and who to contact for help. You can also find out what to expect after you apply and the next steps to take if your application is approved or denied. And so we might know that often they are denied the first time around, so it'll help guide you with what to do next. The tool has the three main federal benefits: the disability tax credit certificate, the Canada Pension Plan disability benefit, plus the Registered Disability Savings Plan, RDSP, plus one provincial and territory disability assistance benefit. Okay, so you can use this, caregivers can use this, family members, volunteers, and organizations who provide access to benefits. So I'm going to give you a short overview of the Disability Benefits Compass. I'm not going to get certainly as detailed, but I just wanted to make you aware of it as well. So let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the Disability Benefits Compass. As you can see, it looks very similar to the Benefits Wayfinder. There's a couple things that I'll highlight for you. You can select some of the key benefits that I just described to you, right? So in this case, again, I'm in Ontario, so the Ontario Disability Support Program, the Disability Tax Credit, all of those things are there. Okay, I can some help getting started. It'll give you how to use this website. There's a video that you can take a look at. You can again browse some of those key disability benefits. There's a glossary down at the bottom and just all different ways to become more familiar with the disability benefits that are available. Okay. Um, there's a quick way to get to the glossary and resources up here as well. Okay, so back on the home page, there is a link to a captioned video. So it has ASL, and there's also some website instructions if you would prefer to read them. So those are good to use if you need a screen reader. One of the things that I want to show you that I really like about this particular resource is these totes, as they're called, at the bottom. And these totes have all different kinds of links to resources. So for example, if you're unable to open an RDSP, it'll take you there. If your application is denied, it'll go through all of that process with you. And you see all of these accordions provide you with additional information. One of the things that can be really difficult is finding a nurse practitioner or doctor who will work with you. So it will help you to do that based on where you live in Canada. It's got, if you're needing help with the disability tax credit, ways to file income taxes, different definitions. So I think this is a really robust resource section that I encourage you to take a look at. And then very similar to the benefits Wayfinder, if you dig a little deeper into one of the benefits, you'll see we have the same types of information, little introduction. It'll go into all of the eligibility requirements. So you can see even just by clicking on these things how much more complex it is compared to some of the other benefits. Goes into how to apply. This one has quite a few steps. It'll take you through each step with detailed information. What happens after you apply, right? Is it approved or denied? Okay. So we are so fortunate to be able to work with partners to help us create this. So the level of knowledge and expertise in this is just fantastic. Frequently asked questions around these benefits. Okay. And then, of course, a lot of resources as well. So there's just so much information. I encourage you, if you are working with clients who are navigating this, to take a really good look at it. Similarly, too, it's got, if you're needing help with the application, okay, it's also, got a lot of accessibility features as well. Some of the resources that you can find out more about. So I mentioned Plan Institute being one of our partners on this. So they've got some other resources that are really great to take a look at. So again, not having as much time to go into this one. This was kind of a bonus. I wanted to make sure I showed you it at least and gave you a little bit of information on it. But if you are interested in learning more about it, we do sort of separate demos on it as well if it's something that's really relevant to the groups that you're working with or something that your staff might want some more support with. Okay. I'm going to go back one more time. I think it's the last time. All right. So, sorry. There we go. So both for the Benefits Wayfinder and the Disability Benefits Compass, there are several ways that you can use them with community members. Okay, so you can use it as a resource yourself to find out more information about specific benefits, or some organizations actually include it in their onboarding for staff to help them learn about common benefits. The Benefits Wayfinder can be used with community members to explore benefits that might be available to them, or as that benefits checkup that we talked about earlier. Right? And so for someone with a disability, the Disability Benefits Compass can help them navigate that application process. Both tools are a really great way to encourage money conversations, right? You could do this at a tax clinic or in a follow-up appointment separate from a tax clinic, and it can also be a way to provide tips to people applying for benefits, especially the Disability Benefits Compass, which has much more details on the application process. So I hope you'll take some time afterwards to take a look. So now I just want to switch gears again and tell you about some of the other resources that are available to you. I did highlight some of these briefly in the demo. And by the way, just a reminder that these slides will be shared with you after the session, so you can reference them later. So depending on an individual's needs and situation, sometimes it's in their best interest to refer a person to another organization or service that provide that more specialized support. So this could be a tax filing clinic, an ID clinic, or another advocacy organization. So it's really a good idea to build a referral network of individuals and organizations that can offer this kind of support. So I encourage you to take a look. We have some of those organizations listed on the Benefits Wayfinder. And if you're an organization that wants to be listed there, you do offer those kinds of support services, we would love to add you. So please reach out. On the Benefits Wayfinder, there's really two great resources to help you find these kinds of referrals, and that's under the help and agency portal on the Benefits Wayfinder. I think you remember I might have shown you the list of agencies that are there. Then there's other things like tip sheets. There's a guide on supporting client intake, triage and referral in virtual financial help services as well. So for future reference and for more detailed information on how to use the Benefits Wayfinder with clients, you can also take a look at the Benefit Wayfinder support guide. So it covers a lot of what we explored today and how to start that benefits conversation. And it's a really good tool to kind of have by your side as you start to navigate the Benefits Wayfinder. All right. We also have some other tools to share with you. One of them is specifically designed for organizations that are wanting to explore the access to benefits space. So it's called the Bridge to Benefits. There is a link to it, not only in the Benefits Wayfinder, but we'll share that direct link with you as well. And again, if you're considering offering access to benefit services or expanding what you currently offer, again, we've relied on some of our amazing partners who have provided best practices and tips and tricks for how to get started with these kinds of services. Okay, we have a webinar on it as well that you can view from our Learning Hub, or if you wanted a demo on that, I would be happy to provide it. Some other great tools and resources. We've got all kinds of things that we encourage you to explore. One of them is Making the Most of Your Money, which is an online course that you can actually share with clients. It's got all kinds of great resources. We've got some information on the Canada Disability Benefit on our Learning Hub. Recently, one of our staff did a podcast called Dollars Seen Differently, produced by CNIB, and it gives some overview of the Disability Benefits Compass as well. And then the final thing I wanted to share, sort of the newest tool, is our Access to Benefits suite of tools. And it's a new and free online, it's like a mini course, basically. Sometimes people get confused because there's 3 different tools and they're all helping with benefits. So this was actually created to sort of help to share with you the differences between the tools, how you can use them, with some links to other resources. So it's a really short mini sort of course that you can take a look at as well. And again, these will all be provided to you in the PowerPoint that goes out. And finally, we're just really hoping that you can spread the word about these tools. We're really hoping to integrate that more into social services or professional organizations or colleges, and just it's all about getting the word out and getting people to use it. So if you think you might have an opportunity where we can share that, please reach out to me at my email address, which is jbolton@prospercanada.org. We'll put that in the chat as well, or it's actually going to be in the PowerPoint too. And I know that Sharmeen has already put the survey in there. We always are looking for feedback on how we're doing, what other information you're looking for. So we would love it if you would take a moment while we're kind of answering some questions here to share with you your thoughts. And I've just got a couple more things that I'll do before we wrap up and open it up to some questions. All right, so please put your questions in the chat. I'll look at them in just a moment. And if that's not working for you, let me know and I'll unmute you and you can ask it that way as well. Again, we're not benefit specialists, so I might not be able to answer it today, but we'll certainly do our best to get you the answer. And so as we start to wrap up, we've just got about 9 minutes left. I just want to quickly review that as frontline workers or people supporting community members, that you really have a unique opportunity to support people with access to benefits. Think back to that word cloud and the impact that it can have on people's lives. It's really, really important. So remember to assess the setting that you're in, right, and the individual, and really consider using one of those conversation pathways to bring up the topic of benefits and look at the opportunities to ask those 3 screening questions. And finally, remember the Benefits Wayfinder and the Disability Benefits Compass can be used in different ways to identify and organize benefits, as individuals may be eligible for these, and depending on what they're most comfortable sharing or using, you can use the tool in whichever way works best for you and for them. Okay. I really want to thank you for joining us today. We had a wonderful large group, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, I really encourage you to give us some feedback. I know we've put the link in there already, and we would just love to hear more. And just a quick shout out to the people that have helped us to create this. The Benefits Wayfinder was developed by Prosper Canada, sponsored by the TD Bank Group, and supported by Maple Leaf Centre for Action on Food Security. We really appreciate your time and all your contributions today. Hope that you had fun, and we hope to see you again soon at our next webinar. And if you had anybody that missed this from your organization, we do this on a quarterly basis, so we'll let you know when the next one is. So have a very wonderful day. I'm going to stay on, and I'm going to try to answer some of these questions that we have in the chat. I see one here. Can we find financial benefits offered by City Government Toronto? Oh, I wish, Jan, as I mentioned earlier, we would love to have more municipal focused, but that it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to keep up with all of these and to make those connections with the municipalities, but it's certainly something we are striving to do, but it will take a while, I'm sure. I have a question. Do you come to present or do you prefer we share this info with your organizations? I would say a little bit of both. I mean, really depends on our capacity at the time. We do have a couple of other staff that will do demos. If you have a large group that you want to bring together, we can do that. But there's also, as I said, recorded webinars that you're welcome to pass on and share. We're all about getting the information out there. So please do share that. Seeing if there's any other questions there. Yeah, great. I think people enjoyed and are going to share it. So that's wonderful. I will stay on if there's any other questions. And if not, thank you so much for joining us today. Sharmeen, thanks for all your technical help and adding all of that information into the chat. Much appreciated. If you wait a few days, probably, well, we're already on Thursday, so probably sometime next week, this will be sent out to you and you'll have a copy of the PowerPoint. We'll send some of the links as well, some of the important links. And again, please share it with others. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. I'll end the meeting and thank you, everyone. Have a great day.